Absence is one of the most powerful tools in human relationships, yet it is often underestimated. When someone is consistently present in our lives, we can become accustomed to their energy, their presence, and even their contributions, to the point where we may unconsciously take them for granted. However, when that person steps away, something fascinating happens. Their absence creates a void, a space that can no longer be ignored. This emptiness becomes a silent yet persistent reminder of what was once there, stirring thoughts and emotions that often go unnoticed when the person is readily available. Absence has a way of amplifying one's value, not because the person has changed, but because the dynamic of the relationship shifts when they are no longer within reach. So, when you deliberately implement the no constant rule, you tap into this universal principle. You create an environment where the other person is left to their thoughts, free from distractions that your presence might have provided. They begin to notice the subtle things that used to fill their days but are now missing. Your voice, your laughter, the way you made them feel seen and understood. It's not something they consciously decide to do. It's rather, the human mind naturally gravitates toward filling gaps. If the gap is you, then you become the centerpiece of their inner dialogue, whether they admit it or not. So this concept works because humans are wired to notice contrasts. Think about it. When you lose electricity during a storm, you immediately recognize how much you rely on it for warmth, light, and comfort. The same principle applies to relationships. When you remove yourself from someone's life, they are forced to confront the difference between having you and not having you. It is in this contrast that your presence ironically becomes stronger in their mind. They begin to reflect, often subconsciously, on the role you played in their life, whether that was as a source of joy, comfort, support, or even challenge. Absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder. It compels the mind to revisit memories, analyze interactions, and dwell on the what-ifs. This is not about playing games or engaging in manipulation. It's about creating space for clarity, for both you and the other person. When you constantly make yourself available, you might unintentionally dilute the impact you have. Familiarity breeds comfort, yes, but it can also breed complacency. Absence disrupts that complacency. It serves as a reminder that relationships are not static. They require effort, appreciation, and presence of mind. When you step back, you give the other person the opportunity to truly evaluate what you mean to them without the distractions of your constant presence. What makes this so effective is its subtlety. Unlike spoken words, which can be misunderstood, twisted, or forgotten, absence communicates on a deeper, more primal level. It is felt rather than heard. It is not loud or demanding. It is quiet yet commanding. It forces reflection because there is nothing else to focus on in the space you've left behind. This process can be uncomfortable for the other person, especially if they have taken your presence for granted. But it is in this discomfort that growth occurs on both sides. Absence also has the unique ability to challenge preconceived notions and habitual behavior. If someone has grown accustomed to you always being the one to initiate contact, reach out, or bridge gaps, your silence disrupts that dynamic. It places the responsibility back on them, requiring them to decide whether your presence is something they value enough to pursue. This shift can be transformative. It's no longer about you proving your worth. It's about them recognizing it. However, the power of absence lies not just in stepping away, but in doing so with intention and grace. It is not about ghosting or cutting someone off out of anger or spite. Rather, it is a deliberate act of self-respect and self-care. By choosing to remove yourself, you are prioritizing your own peace, growth, and well-being. This act of self-preservation is what makes the absence so potent. It's not a punishment for the other person. It's a gift to yourself that indirectly benefits them by offering a chance for mutual reflection and growth. The person on the receiving end of your absence is likely to experience a range of emotions, from confusion to curiosity and eventually longing. Initially, they may not even realize what they're missing. But as time passes and the space you occupied in their life remains unfilled, they will begin to notice. It might be the little things at first. A phrase you often said, a habit you shared, or the way you made them feel in your presence. These small reminders build up, creating a tapestry of memories that keeps you on their mind. Absence also leverages one of the most compelling forces in human psychology: scarcity. When something is always available, its perceived value diminishes. But when it becomes scarce or unavailable, its value skyrockets. This principle is at play in everything from economics to relationships. By removing yourself, you create a sense of scarcity that makes your presence feel more precious. You are no longer just there, you are something to be sought after, something worth the effort. Emotional resilience is the cornerstone of successfully navigating the no-concept rule. It is not just about resisting the urge to reach out. It's about mastering your emotions, staying steadfast in your decision, and embracing the discomfort that often accompanies change. This process requires immense inner strength, because stepping back can feel counterintuitive, especially when your natural inclination might be to fix, explain, or seek closure. Emotional resilience equips you to withstand these urges and maintain your focus on the bigger picture, reclaiming your power and creating space for transformation. The journey begins with recognizing and accepting your emotions without being consumed by them. When you initiate no contact, it is natural to feel a wave of emotions: fear, sadness, doubt, and even anger. These feelings can be overwhelming, urging you to break your silence in hopes of alleviating the discomfort. However, emotional resilience is not about suppressing these emotions. It's about acknowledging them, understanding their roots, and choosing not to let them dictate your actions. This level of self-awareness is vital because it allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Building emotional resilience also involves redefining your perspective on discomfort. Most people view discomfort as something to be avoided. But in the context of growth, discomfort is a necessary catalyst. When you feel the ache of missing someone or the anxiety of uncertainty, remind yourself that these feelings are temporary and that they are evidence of the work you are doing to reclaim your emotional independence. Resilience grows when you learn to sit with these feelings rather than seeking immediate relief. Critical component of emotional resilience is self-discipline. It takes an incredible amount of control to resist the temptation to check their social media, send a message, or look for signs of their response to your absence. Each time you choose to honor your boundaries instead of giving in to these impulses, you strengthen your resolve. And this discipline is not just about keeping the no count by rule intact. It's about proving to yourself that you have the power to prioritize your well-being over momentary gratification. Over time, this discipline becomes a source of pride and a reminder of your inner strength. Another layer of resilience lies in detaching from the outcome. The no constant rule is not a magic formula to guarantee someone's return. While it often creates space for reflection and reconciliation, its true purpose is to empower you. Emotional resilience allows you to let go of the need for a specific result and focus instead on the process of healing and growth. This detachment can be one of the most challenging aspects of no contact because it requires trust. Resilience also involves setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, not just with the other person, but with yourself. You may find your mind wandering into what ifs, replaying old conversations, or imagining future scenarios. While it's natural to revisit the past, emotional resilience calls for redirecting your focus to the present moment. Dwelling on what was or what could be only drains your energy and keeps you tethered to a situation you're trying to move beyond. Cultivating mindfulness through practices like meditation, journaling, or deep breathing can help you anchor yourself in the now and regain control over your thoughts. A vital yet often overlooked aspect of emotional resilience is self-compassion. The journey of no contact can be isolating and emotionally taxing. There may be days when you question your decision, when the loneliness feels unbearable, or when you make a mistake and reach out. In these moments, it's crucial to extend kindness to yourself. Resilience is not about being perfect. It's about persevering despite setbacks. Remind yourself that this is a learning process and that every step, even the missteps, contributes to your growth. Emotional resilience is also bolstered by a strong support system. While the no contact rule is a personal journey, it doesn't mean you have to go through it entirely alone. Surrounding yourself with friends, family, or mentors who understand your goals and can offer encouragement can make a significant difference. These individuals can provide perspective when you're feeling uncertain, remind you of your strength when you're feeling weak, and celebrate your progress as you navigate this path. Resilience thrives in an environment of support and understanding. Lastly, resilience requires a focus on self-empowerment. The no constant rule is not about waiting for someone to notice your absence. It's about using this time to reconnect with yourself. When you shift your energy from longing for external validation to fostering self-love and self-worth, you become emotionally unshakable. This empowerment comes from realizing that you have the ability to create your own happiness, independent of anyone else. Each act of self-care, each boundary upheld, and each moment of discipline reinforces your sense of autonomy and strength. Silence is one of the most underestimated yet profoundly impactful tools when it comes to staying on someone's mind. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant communication, silence becomes a rare and powerful commodity. When you deliberately choose silence, you create a vacuum, a space that demands attention, provokes curiosity, and ultimately leaves an indelible mark on the other person's thoughts. It is not about avoidance or manipulation. It's about understanding the psychology of human interaction and leveraging it to create an impact without uttering a single word. Silence speaks volumes because it disrupts the norm. People are accustomed to constant feedback, responses, and engagement. In relationships, there's often an expectation of continuity where both parties play predictable roles in communication. When you break that pattern through silence, it's as if the rhythm of a familiar song suddenly changes. The abrupt stillness catches the other person off guard, forcing them to pay attention to the absence of sound. This disruption triggers a chain reaction of thoughts and emotions, compelling them to wonder why the usual flow of communication has ceased. The silence, far from being passive, becomes a dynamic force that demands acknowledgement. The impact of silence is amplified by the human mind's innate tendency to fill gaps. When communication stops, the other person is left to their own thoughts, often trying to piece together what went wrong or why the interaction has shifted. This process of filling in the blanks can be incredibly consuming. They may replay past conversations, analyze your behavior, and search for clues in an attempt to understand your silence. In doing so, they unknowingly place you at the center of their mental focus. Silence, therefore, becomes a powerful way to occupy their thoughts without any direct effort on your part. What makes silence so compelling is its ability to convey multiple messages simultaneously. It can express confidence, self-respect, and independence. It shows that you are not desperate for attention or validation, which paradoxically makes you more intriguing. People are naturally drawn to those who exude self-assurance, and silence is one of the clearest indicators of inner strength. He said, a reprieve from content. It suggests that you are comfortable with yourself and that you do not need constant interaction to feel valued. This aura of self-possession can be incredibly magnetic, as it challenges the other person to reevaluate their perception of you. Silence also creates a sense of mystery. When you stop communicating, you leave room for the other person's imagination to run wild. They start to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and what's occupying your time. The absence of information can be far more intriguing than any direct statement because it allows their mind to explore countless possibilities. This curiosity can become an obsession as they seek to uncover the answers that your silence withholds. The more they think about you, the deeper you embed yourself in their consciousness. Another dimension of silence is its ability to shift power dynamics. In any relationship or interaction, the person who is least affected by the other's actions often holds more influence. By choosing silence, you signal that you are not controlled by the need for constant validation or attention. This subtle shift in power can be unsettling for the other person, especially if they are used to you being more vocal or responsive. Their silence forces them to confront their own emotions and actions, creating a dynamic where they must grapple with their feelings rather than relying on you to bridge the gap. Especially when your words, sound worth, require meaning and acknowledgement. Silence also creates space for reflection. For the other person, it provides an opportunity to assess the value of your presence in their life without the distraction of ongoing communication. They are left to consider what you bring to the relationship and what they may be missing in your absence. This period of introspection can lead to a deeper appreciation of your worth, as they realize the impact you have on their life when you are no longer readily available. Silence, in this sense, becomes a mirror that reflects their own thoughts and feelings back to them. On a personal level, silence allows you to maintain control over your emotions and actions. It gives you the time and space to process your own feelings, regain clarity, and focus on your goals. By resisting the urge to respond or engage, you demonstrate emotional discipline and self-control, qualities that not only benefit you, but also enhance the way others perceive you. Last but not least, I desire that you respect my boundaries. Silence becomes a declaration of your strength and resolve, a testament to your ability to prioritize your well-being over fleeting impulses. In the context of the no contact rule, silence is particularly effective because it removes the noise that often clouds judgment and emotions. When you stop communicating, you strip away the superficial layers of the relationship, allowing both parties to see the situation more clearly. For the other person, your silence may highlight the void left by your absence, prompting them to question their own actions and decisions. For you, it creates an opportunity to rebuild your confidence, rediscover your identity, and refocus your energy on what truly matters. What makes silence even more powerful is its rarity. In a culture that thrives on instant communication and constant connectivity, silence is often misunderstood or even feared. People are so accustomed to filling every moment with words or actions that silence feels unnatural. By embracing it, you set yourself apart from the crowd, showing that you are not bound by the same need for constant interaction. Your willingness to be silent speaks volumes about your confidence and self-assuredness, making you unforgettable in a way that words never could. The psychological principle of scarcity plays a pivotal role in keeping someone's mind fixated on you during no contact. When something becomes scarce or unavailable, its perceived value tends to increase significantly. This phenomenon applies not only to tangible goods, but also to human relationships and interactions. By intentionally withdrawing your presence and limiting access to yourself, you activate this scarcity principle, making the other person acutely aware of your absence and heightening their appreciation for your presence. Human psychology is wired to notice and desire what it cannot readily have. When you step back and create distance, you shift from being a constant presence to someone they must actively think about and seek out. This shift in dynamics changes how they perceive you. The everyday interactions or exchanges they might have taken for granted suddenly become more meaningful in hindsight. Your absence becomes noticeable, creating a gap in their life that demands their attention. This gap doesn't merely signify your physical absence. It represents a void of emotional connection, companionship, and familiarity that they can no longer access at will. Scarcity also triggers a sense of urgency and importance. When something becomes less available, the mind perceives it as more desirable. It's an intrinsic reaction rooted in our survival instincts. When resources or opportunities are limited, the impulse to secure them becomes stronger. By stepping into no contact, you essentially make yourself a limited resource, prompting the other person to reassess their priorities and potentially regret not valuing you more when you were easily accessible. The sudden lack of communication compels them to question why this change occurred and what it means for the future, creating a mental fixation on you and your actions. And so, if you're feeling inadequate to share with others, perhaps it's time to consider reassessing your own. This principle is particularly powerful when combined with the memories and experiences you've shared. During no contact, the other person is likely to reflect on your past interactions, conversations, and moments together. In the absence of new input, their mind clings to these memories, often romanticizing or idealizing them. Scarcity magnifies this effect by emphasizing the irreplaceability of those experiences. They begin to recognize that what you offered, whether it was emotional support, laughter, understanding, or companionship, is not easily found elsewhere. This realization can intensify their longing for your presence, and their regret over losing it. Scarcity also works because it forces the other person to take notice of what they no longer have. In the daily routine of a relationship, people often become complacent, assuming that the connection will always be there. However, when you remove yourself from the equation, it disrupts their expectations and forces them to confront the reality of your absence. This confrontation can be uncomfortable, but it is also profoundly impactful. It shakes them out of their complacency and makes them aware of the value you brought to their life. The scarcity of your presence amplifies their appreciation for it in a way that constant availability never could. Another dimension of scarcity lies in the unpredictability it introduces. When you are consistently available, the other person knows they can rely on your presence whenever they want. This predictability, while comforting, can sometimes lead to a lack of excitement or intrigue. No contact changes this dynamic by introducing an element of uncertainty. They no longer know what you are doing, how you feel, or whether you are even thinking about them. This unpredictability piques their curiosity and keeps their thoughts revolving around you. Scarcity, coupled with unpredictability, creates a powerful combination that keeps you firmly rooted in their mind. The scarcity principle also works on a deeper emotional level by highlighting your self-worth. When you choose to step back and limit access to yourself, you send a clear message. You value your time, energy, and emotional well-being. This self-respect is not only attractive, but also contagious. It forces the other person to reevaluate how they perceive you and the dynamics of your relationship. They begin to see you as someone who cannot be taken for granted. Someone who knows their worth and is unafraid to demand the same recognition from others. In relationships, scarcity can also act as a mirror, reflecting the other person's feelings and priorities. When you remove yourself from the situation, it gives them the space to examine their own emotions without external influence. They are left to grapple with their own thoughts, feelings, and insecurities. This introspection can lead to a deeper understanding of their connection to you and the role you play in their life. The scarcity of your presence creates the ideal conditions for this internal dialogue, prompting them to recognize and perhaps even act on their feelings. Scarcity is not about playing games or manipulating someone's emotions. It is about creating the necessary space for reflection and growth, both for you and for them. By making yourself less accessible, you allow the natural dynamics of human psychology to take effect. They begin to understand that your presence is a privilege, not a given. This realization fosters a deeper appreciation for you and a renewed desire to connect. It's not about withholding yourself out of spite, but about demonstrating that your time and energy are valuable and should be respected as such. Additionally, the scarcity principle works hand in hand with exclusivity. When something feels exclusive or rare, its value increases exponentially. Your choice to go silent and limit contact signals that you are not readily available to just anyone. This exclusivity sets you apart, making you more desirable and unforgettable. It creates a sense of importance around your presence, elevating your status in their mind. By embracing this approach, you position yourself as someone worth pursuing, someone whose absence is felt deeply and whose presence is cherished. The concept of emotional triggers plays a critical role in ensuring you remain on someone's mind, particularly during a period of no contact. Emotional triggers are deeply ingrained psychological responses that connect specific stimuli, words, images, memories, or even silence, to powerful feelings. These triggers operate beneath the surface of conscious awareness, meaning that when activated, they evoke emotions almost instantly and often uncontrollably. By understanding and subtly influencing these triggers, you can create a lasting presence in the mind of someone you wish to affect without direct interaction. Also, the power of emotional triggers lies in their ability to bypass logical reasoning and go straight to the emotional core. People may not remember every word you said or every interaction you had, but they will undoubtedly remember how you made them feel. These feelings become imprinted in their subconscious, and when a trigger associated with you surfaces, it reactivates those emotions as vividly as if they were happening in the present moment. It is this emotional resonance that keeps you alive in their thoughts long after your direct presence has faded. To harness the power of emotional triggers effectively, it's essential to recognize how they are formed. Triggers are often created during intense emotional experiences, whether positive or negative. Moments of joy, laughter, connection, or even conflict leave a lasting imprint because they stir emotions deeply. These experiences become tied to specific aspects of your relationship, such as a favorite song, a shared place, or a unique phrase you often used. When no contact begins, these triggers gain even more power because they are no longer reinforced by new interactions. Instead, they stand alone, untouched and unaltered, serving as potent reminders of your presence. Alpha Valley. Silence itself can become an emotional trigger. In the absence of communication, the other person's mind fills the void with thoughts and memories of you. This process is not deliberate. It is an automatic response to the sudden lack of interaction. They may hear a song you both enjoyed or see something that reminds them of a moment you shared. And the emotional weight of those memories comes rushing back. Each time this happens, it strengthens the neural connections associated with you, making it increasingly difficult for them to stop thinking about you. Additionally, emotional triggers are amplified when there is unresolved tension or unfinished business. If your relationship or connection ended abruptly without clear closure, it leaves a lingering sense of incompletion. This lack of resolution becomes a powerful trigger in itself, as the mind is naturally inclined to seek closure. The other person may find themselves repeatedly going over past conversations, wondering what they could have done differently or why things unfolded the way they did. These unresolved questions keep you at the forefront of their thoughts as their subconscious mind works tirelessly to make sense of the situation. Last, physical spaces and objects also play a role in activating emotional triggers. A location where you spent meaningful time together, an item you gave them, or even the scent of your favorite perfume or cologne can evoke powerful memories and emotions. These tangible reminders serve as anchors, pulling their thoughts back to you whenever they encounter them. The beauty of these triggers is that they are omnipresent, embedded in the environment, and impossible to avoid completely. Each encounter with one of these triggers reinforces your presence in their mind, often in ways they cannot control or suppress. The effectiveness of emotional triggers also hinges on their ability to provoke contrasting feelings. For example, a happy memory tied to you might evoke warmth and nostalgia, but could also stir feelings of longing or regret. This emotional duality creates a powerful pull as the mind oscillates between positive and negative emotions, deepening the overall impact. The complexity of these emotions makes them more memorable, ensuring that you occupy a unique and significant place in their mental and emotional landscape. Social media and digital communication have introduced new ways to leverage emotional triggers. A carefully curated online presence, for example, can serve as a subtle reminder of your existence without direct interaction. A photo, a shared post, or even your silence on social media can activate emotional triggers, prompting the other person to think about you and wonder about your life. The key is to be mindful of how you present yourself, ensuring that what you share aligns with the emotions you want to evoke. Even the absence of activity, like not responding to messages or avoiding posting altogether, can become a trigger, sparking curiosity and speculation. One of the most fascinating aspects of emotional triggers is their longevity. Unlike fleeting thoughts or surface-level memories, triggers embed themselves deeply within the psyche. They can be activated weeks, months, or even years after the original connection, reigniting feelings as if no time has passed. This enduring quality makes them an invaluable tool in staying on someone's mind, especially when direct communication is no longer an option. By creating powerful emotional associations during your interactions, you ensure that these triggers remain potent long after you've gone silent. What makes emotional triggers so effective is their unpredictability. The other person cannot control when or where they will encounter a trigger, which means they cannot prepare for the emotions it will evoke. This lack of control creates a sense of inevitability, as though your presence in their thoughts is unavoidable. The unpredictability also heightens the emotional impact, making each encounter with a trigger feel significant and meaningful. It's this combination of surprise and emotional depth that ensures you remain a constant presence in their mind, even when you are physically absent. Finally, emotional triggers are deeply personal. What works for one person may not work for another, as each individual's triggers are shaped by their unique experiences and perspectives. This personal nature makes them incredibly powerful, as they speak directly to the other person's inner world. By understanding the nuances of your connection and the specific triggers that resonate with them, you can create a lasting impact that is both profound and deeply felt. That emotional triggers are not about manipulation, but about tapping into the natural dynamics of human emotion to create a bond that transcends words and actions. Subtlety is the art of achieving impact without drawing overt attention to your efforts. In the context of the no contact rule and staying on someone's mind, subtlety becomes a powerful tool. It allows you to maintain a presence in their thoughts without appearing desperate, needy, or manipulative. This nuanced approach creates intrigue and curiosity, leaving the other person to fill in the gaps with their imagination, which often leads to a stronger mental and emotional impact than direct communication could achieve. Mastering subtlety requires an understanding of psychological dynamics, self-control, and the ability to project an aura of mystery and confidence. Subtlety begins with restraint. When you decide to go no contact, you are choosing to create an absence that speaks louder than words. This silence is not passive. It is deliberate and strategic. Instead of flooding the other person with messages, calls, or overt attempts to capture their attention, you withdraw, allowing the space between you to create its own story. Human nature abhors a vacuum, especially in relationships. This violation of boundaries, when you pull back, the other person naturally begins to wonder why. This curiosity often leads them to think about you more, analyzing past interactions and trying to make sense of your absence. Part of the power of subtlety lies in the psychological principle of scarcity. When something becomes less accessible, its perceived value increases. By removing yourself from constant interaction, you signal that your time, energy, and attention are not to be taken for granted. This scarcity creates a sense of exclusivity, making your presence more desirable. It's important to note that this strategy does not involve playing games. or being deceitful. Instead, it's about recognizing your own worth and ensuring that your absence is felt as much as your presence was. Subtlety also involves creating moments of connection without direct contact. This can be achieved through indirect reminders of your presence, such as leaving behind subtle traces of your personality or shared experiences. For instance, a song you both enjoyed, a book you discussed, or a phrase you often use can act as gentle nudges that bring you to mind. These reminders are not forced. They arise naturally from the fabric of your shared history. When the other person encounters these subtle cues, they are likely to think of you, often without fully realizing why. Social media offers a modern platform for employing subtlety effectively. It's not about broadcasting your life or seeking attention, but about carefully curating what you share. A post that reflects personal growth, happiness, or new experiences can serve as a silent statement about your progress. The key is to avoid overdoing it. Too much activity can appear calculated or insincere. Instead, aim for a balance that showcases your independence and confidence. Even the act of refraining from posting can be powerful, as it creates a sense of mystery and prompts the other person to wonder what you're up to. Another dimension of subtlety involves the use of timing. Knowing when to act or not act can make all the difference. For example, if the other person reaches out to you, your response should be thoughtful and measured, rather than immediate or overly enthusiastic. This demonstrates self-restraint and reinforces the idea that you are not entirely available at their convenience. Similarly, choosing when to engage in social activities or when to be visibly absent can create an air of unpredictability, keeping you intriguing and relevant in their thoughts. So, the art of subtlety also includes projecting an air of detachment. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent, but rather maintaining a sense of independence and self-assurance. When you are genuinely focused on your own growth, passions, and well-being, this confidence radiates outward. People are naturally drawn to those who exude self-reliance and purpose. By embodying these qualities, you send a powerful message without saying a word. You are content and complete on your own, and any connection with you is a privilege, not a necessity. Subtlety requires patience. Unlike overt gestures, the effects of subtlety unfold gradually over time. It's a process of planting seeds and allowing them to grow in the other person's mind. This slow build creates a deeper and more lasting impact because it allows emotions and thoughts to develop organically. Impatience, on the other hand, can undermine the entire process. If you push too hard or try to force an outcome, the other person may become resistant or lose interest. Subtlety thrives on the quiet confidence that time and space will work in your favor. A critical aspect of subtlety is maintaining authenticity. The goal is not to manipulate or deceive, but to express your true self in a way that resonates with the other person. Authenticity ensures that the impressions you leave are genuine and meaningful. When your actions align with your values and intentions, they carry a natural sincerity that cannot be faked. This authenticity strengthens the emotional connection, making it more likely that you will remain on their mind for the right reasons. Subtlety also operates on the principle of contrast. By stepping back, you create a stark difference between your presence and absence. This contrast highlights the value of your presence, making it more noticeable and impactful. The other person is likely to compare the moments they shared with you to the current state of no contact, which can amplify feelings of longing or appreciation. This contrast is most effective when it arises naturally, without any overt attempt to draw attention to it. And finally, subtlety involves trusting the process. When you adopt a subtle approach, you're placing faith in the strength of your connection and the power of human emotions. You understand that true influence comes not from trying to control others, but from inspiring them to think, feel, and act of their own accord. This trust allows you to let go of the need for immediate validation or results, focusing instead on the long-term impact of your presence or absence on their thoughts and emotions.